There's something about fishing that stirs up an energy and excitement from deep within us. It could come from landing a personal best fish or by helping someone land their first fish ever. It's stories shared around the dinner table, and after a day on the water, the goal of learning more about the wonders that surround us. To us, it's the things that give our lives purpose and meaning. These are the stories told by the avid, the dedicated, and the passionate. This is the Love of Fishing podcast. The Love of Fishing podcast is proudly powered by Peter's Tackle and sponsored by Freedom Tackle, Silver Salmon, Dreamweaver, Team Underdog Cutbait, and Grimsby Tackle. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Love of Fishing podcast presented by Peter's Tackle. I'm your host, Lyle Gator, and this week we have a good one in store for you. This week we're talking to Tyler Dunn from Tyler Dunn Guiding, way up in Sault Ste. Marie. This week stands to be another great week, and I'd like to thank you very much for joining us again. If you're listening on Spotify, hello, and if you're listening on YouTube, hello as well. Right now, I'd like to thank our supporting sponsors of the show. Thank you to Freedom Tackle, Silver Salmon Challenge, Team Underdog Cutbait, Dreamweaver, and Grimsby Tackle for your continued support of the Love of Fishing podcast. Folks listening, I know you have a lot of choices when you go shopping for your fishing gear. Remember these companies, they've supported fishing and they love fishing too. Now let's jump to this week's discussion with Tyler Dunn. I just want to start off by saying thank you to Tyler for joining the Love of Fishing podcast today. Tyler is Tyler Dunn Guiding. He's also the host of another podcast called Guide to Guide, which, by the way, I'd like to be on at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And one thing that hits me about Tyler, we've chatted through social media before, but he has a really cool way of promoting fishing in the outdoors. Through his guiding, I see a lot of family photos. I see a lot of different age groups. I think that's really cool. I think that's where things need to be. And props to Tyler for doing that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're right. I get guys anywhere from I've had take out kids that are 10 years old up to men and women that are in their 80s. Families that are parents are in their 30s, 40s. They have kids anywhere from 10 to 20 years old all the time. It's a wide variety of people coming through this area. It's funny. It's kind of like certain times of the year. It's kind of even like certain locations. Like in the springtime, I'm doing steelhead a lot, and I get more younger steelheader, like in their 20s, or older gentlemen. But then when summer rolls around, I start getting the families come through for camping trips. They want to go fishing for a day. It's almost like certain times of the year, it's like different demographic of age groups coming through for different reasons. Same as the fall. I'm not getting too many guys in their 80s coming up in November, right? I'm kind of still getting some guys that are, I'm sure you can relate. Middle-aged guys or the younger, real young guys.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Guys that maybe don't mind being out in the cold a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I've seen a lot more families through COVID coming through this area in particular. Probably because there's not much else to do but go camping.
Sure.
And but I've noticed same as some of the other guides in the area, they've definitely seen an increase in families and women. With groups of women fishing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's one side of things that I think as the generations get older, women are fishing more, and that's fantastic.
They are.
We love to see that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Some of them awesome. Keep up with the boys, no problem.
Oh yeah. I don't know about you, but I always find if I have men and women on the boat at the same time, the women tend to listen and pay attention to what you're instructing them on.
You took the words right out of my mouth, man. I was just going to say, listen, and you're right. Or they just don't care that much. The ones that don't really want to fish much, and they just kind of, they're holding the rod and they're doing the drift with you probably somewhere, and they're just letting it happen. Whereas if you're a lot of guys, they're too intense with it sometimes. I'm like, just chill. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I do agree. It's a lot of times the wife who isn't even into fishing catches the big one or catches the most. Or
Yes.
yeah, I do agree.
That's awesome, man. I just want to give a bit of background for the podcast, why it's great to have you on board. The purpose of this podcast sort of spawned out of COVID and some of the frustrations, and I won't get too deep into that. But basically, like being in Ontario, I like to talk to people from all over because we have a giant province, and it's amazing that the positive energy from fishing. You talked about families getting out and maybe people who've never fished before. That's what this show is all about. And
Nice. Yep.
I think it's really cool that you have some stories you can probably share through your guiding that just sort of speaks to that. And I hope that, you know, through our conversation today, that'll be kind of the focus, right?
Absolutely. It's funny. Kids kill it, man. Some of the biggest fish caught every year in my boat are from kids. Actually, I'm just thinking on the top of my head right now. The biggest salmon ever caught in my boat was caught by I don't know, maybe he's 12, 13 years old. Biggest brook trout last year was caught by a kid by the name Ethan, 7-pound brookie. Ethan's 12. Year before was another young man by the name of Jay. I think he was 11. He got the biggest brookie of the year in Nipigon. That was a 6+. No, kids are great to have in the boat, and they just bring a certain energy sometimes that's and their parents, like you watch a kid reeling a trophy fish, the look on dad's face is almost bigger than the kids, like, or better than the kids. Like, he's so proud of the son or the grandfather. A couple of them were the grandpa and they got the trophies. And the one grandfather got an artificial mount made, and you know, it's I think grandpa had more fun watching that fish be caught than Jay had catching it, honestly.
Yeah, no, to connect the generations, it's amazing. And I see that too here in Niagara, you know, with either steelhead or bass, and we do salmon fishing as well. And seeing the generations connect, it's so cool. As far as the fishing conversation today, I do have some questions that I want to ask you because your fishing world is very different than mine, but it's also very similar. We fish for the same species, but the environment that you're fishing is way different, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a lot more remote. And I want to kind of pick your brain on Nipigon.
Yep. Yeah, pick away, man.
Tell me a little bit about it. Tell me what is there to catch?
Nipigon, it's what do they call it? The 6th Great Lake. It's I don't know all the specs on the lake. I do know it's over 500 feet deep. It's 80 miles by 60 miles. It's uncharted. So that's the kicker. The uncharted part is what's really scary because there's literally what we call underwater mountains there. It's just like you look on the shoreline, you see these rocky Canadian Shield mountains, pretty much.
Yep.
And that's what it's like in that lake underneath. And it can go from 200-300 feet of water up to a prop killer by the time you slow your boat down on plane. Wow. So that's a scary. And there's no cell service on the lake for the most part. You know, you can, if you go out from there's about half a dozen different access points onto the lake, and for the most part, you can go out from most of those areas. And depending on where you go from there, you might not see someone for a couple of days, a week. If you stay within 10 to 15 miles of the launch, you'll see someone maybe daily, every second day, depending on where you are.
Yep.
But if you're out in the north end of the lake and you're 25 miles out of Murchison Island, and you head out to a couple of the islands further up from there and blow an impeller or something, I don't know what to tell you you're gonna do up there, man. Get to shore, burn a fire. Yeah, but just stuff like that. It's scary on that lake. So a lot of times when I'm up there with friends and stuff, we've traveled in pairs and stuff like that. Even when I'm guiding, I'm not really doing these 25-mile runs out in the middle of nowhere with my clients. Still doing some runs. We're still doing some runs. We're pretty remote, and you know, you're on your own in that. But it's a scary lake, and you have to respect it. It's some of the best fishing. It is the best fishing I've ever done for obviously brook trout. Inland lake trout, not the Great Lakes, but inland lake trout. I've never done lake trout fishing like that. And as a walleye, the north end of the lake is absolutely polluted with walleye, and pike throughout the whole lake are pretty outstanding. But the walleye fishery in the north end of the lake is phenomenal. Like I've done quite a bit of walleye fishing around Ontario. I'm talking inland fishing here, not so much the Great Lakes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've had days there you're getting a few dozen fish over 27, 28 inches, 5 to 10 fish over 30 inches sometimes, 31s, 32s. We haven't got a 34 or 35 yet, but I know they're out there.
Wow.
But yeah, it's pretty remote up there though too. But you can stay at a place like Onman River Resort or even Pasha Lake Cabins and get on some of those remote rivers up there off of Lake Nipigon that really hold those. It's an insane fishery, every cast type thing.
Wow.
Other than that, most guys that fish Nipigons, stay around Nipigon, either at a lodge or a hotel, get a guide, and they go out from there. There's different access points, and if anybody's looking for a trip to do a Nipigon, I recommend maybe doing something like that first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to go on your own or if you want to branch out after that, but just be careful when you go out there on your own.
Yeah,
it's no joke. It's no joke. Yeah.
absolutely. I think what I was kind of getting at there is obviously for a first timer, you'd want to hire a guide, someone like yourself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm a guide here and I would hire you hands down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
hands down, both the technique and how you fish those fish, whatever it is, it's going to be different than what you're used to. And also just the safety aspect, where are the prop killers?
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you don't catch that trophy fish on that day with the guy, it's just getting some other things that are worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
Access points to the lake, places, what the do's and don'ts, basically. If you're a fisherman, like you're not going out lots of times. The guy's not going to teach you something necessarily you don't already know, but they're going to teach you. A local guy's going to teach you where to save your prop, where to get cell phone service, or where you can get cell service if you do hit your prop. Which there's a few spots in Nipigon where you can get cell service, but just stuff like that. Just it's. But on the other hand, a lot of guys just won't do it. They want to go do their own thing, and I've no issues with someone doing that. But just be careful if you do that. Just take it slow. If I recommend, if you're on plane on that lake and you don't know the area and you're in less than say 50, 60 feet of water, just slow down. Get off plane and just slow down till you get out to a little bit safer water than 50 feet.
that seems so outrageous for me, like.
Yeah. Well, the average depth of that lake's 180 feet. That's the average depth.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's unreal, man. It's like you're fishing Lake Superior. It's like you're bass fishing Lake Superior, where you're catching these enormous brook trout. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
And when you say enormous brook trout, how big are we talking? What for you is like you get stoked about?
24 plus. 24-inch plus is now like a 22-inch plus is a trophy on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the limit is. Went over, but you don't bat an eye at a 20-inch brook trout in Lake Nipigon. I'll tell you that right now. Once you fit, you will your first trip, of course, right? Like our first couple trips, we didn't know what the heck we were getting ourselves into. We're like, this is unreal. But then we've been fishing up there for 10, 12 years now. But now I don't get myself personally guiding. Like I love seeing someone catch a 22-inch fish. They freak out. But I consider 22-inch plus as trophy, but a really good one's a 24 plus. Biggest I've seen in my boat's 26. But I've had a few buddies get some bigger, heavier fish that are a little bit shorter, but they're built a little thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I caught an 18-inch brook trout. I was fishing a back lake and I was just over the moon. And I know that's not for brook trout guys. That's not huge, but
you know what it is, man. A lot of the guys I do take brook trout fishing, even around the Sioux, they come up from Michigan or wherever. And they've been fishing brook trout for, their whole life, 20, 30 years, some of these guys, and their biggest brook trout is like 8 inches. Like, I'm not kidding, like 8 inches around here. We're getting 10, 12 inch brook trout in our spawn bags fishing steelhead. And like the locals are like, oh, that's just like a pain in the ass fish. Like that's just like my spawn bag. Yep. And these guys are like hooting and hollering. And so it's, and then the guys come to Nipigon and it's like, they don't even understand until they actually do see it. And they're just, it's unreal. It's unreal. Especially the fly guys who they can cast ashore strip back to the boat and have these meat eating brook trout come follow their fly right to the boat, not boat shy, not leader shy, and eat right beside them. That's what a lot of guys really love to do up here with fly fishing.
With you being a guide, I'm just curious, how did you get started, and when did you kind of know that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, it's funny. I started in the fishing world when I was 17 as a dockhand at a fishing lodge. Went up for a month to Eagle Lake Island Lodge. My buddy was working up there and they needed a hand. So I just went up. That was my first job in the fishing world. I went to another lodge the next year, Pine Portage Lodge. And then I went to construction after that for a while. And then I went to college, took business. And when I was in college, I had to do a business plan. And I was like, you know what? I got to do a business plan on something I don't have to like think about too much. I can just kind of whip it up quick as possible. And I know stuff about it without researching. I'm like, I got to do it on a fishing guide. So I did it, and I had to do like a sales forecast and market research and blah, 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 and feasibility and all that stuff. So I actually did the research on the market in the area, and it actually made sense. And even my teacher said, he's like, you guys going to try it? And I was like, sure, I might try it a little bit. So actually, how I started after that was I learned branding in school and marketing and stuff like that. And I started writing articles. So I wrote an article, I sent it into an online magazine, they bought it. I was like, okay, like, wow. And then the buddy that owned their magazine's like, do you want to write another one? I was like, sure. So I wrote another one. He's like, well, do you want to start writing every month and have your own column? I'm like, sure. So I start writing. It's me and like, it's me, Keith Cabayas, Gary Parsons, Tim Allard.
Just a few guys.
Yeah, man. And who else is there's a couple like Ben Beat, what's his name? The musky guy lacks
Ben Beatty, yeah. Yep.
Ben Beatty. Who else? Someone down by you. Anyways, there's a bunch of guys writing. Justin Hall. Anyways, and so that's why I started. I wanted to market myself first before I started. If someone's going to come up and fish with me for a week, they're not just going to come up with some kid that has a website or so. It's like I had to have some kind of credentials and stuff like that. So I wanted to start branding myself, and people Googled my name and stuff like that. Stuff came up. So I started writing articles, and I got involved with Hobie fishing. I was on the Hobie fishing team for a couple of years. And that kind of worked my way into doing some guide trips with kayak fishing. And at the time, I didn't have a boat, like a big boat. I didn't have a truck. I just had a car.
Yeah.
So I was doing kayak fishing and float fishing trips, wader trips for a couple times a year type thing. And then every year I just kind of doubled my trips. And I bought a boat, or I bought a truck first, and then I bought a boat after that.
Yeah.
And it took me, this is my 6th year full time. And I'm going to say I probably started my business about 11 years ago now, if I had to look at the exact date.
Yeah.
I think it's year 10 or 11. But I was working full time as a carpenter up until I was 33. And I'm 37 now. So I'm 38, turning 38. So this is year number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it doesn't happen overnight, eh?
No, man, it's still a grind. It's still like, I won't call it a grind, but it's still a grind.
Yeah. Yep.
It's always, it's never a paycheck coming every 2 weeks. So that's, here's your 40 hours. That's part of being self-employed. And I do love parts of that, but it's still a risky thing to do, to quit your job and to go full tilt into fishing, no matter what, whether you're a guide or writer, tournament guy, any aspect of it. So it's not an easy thing to do, but once you do, what I recommend anybody that wants to get into it full time is take it slowly. They don't quit your day job and get a business going first. Pay off your debts before you quit. If I didn't pay off my OSAT before I quit, it wouldn't have worked. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
If you can afford to buy a new truck, a new boat off the hop, go ahead. But it's not that simple either. Like I said, if I probably bought a brand new boat 5 years ago, I don't know if I'd still be working construction or not the whole time, because it's, I paid my boat off many moons ago. So at the moment, my boat's a money maker for me. But that said, my boat's been pounded for the last 6-7 years. It's getting to the point where it's now time for me to invest in another boat. So that's a whole other ball game. But anybody wants to get into any part of it full time, just get into it slowly. Don't quit your day job, and just because it is a nice living. Once you're established, it's a lifestyle. I went into it for a lifestyle. I didn't go into it to make tons of money or more money than I was making as a carpenter, but it was more of a lifestyle thing. it's and bad days are bad days out here, but I always think of the bad days in the boat and how much of a bad day it was shinging a roof or stuff like that, right? So I'll suck it
Yeah,
up on the bad days. I think of the roofers out there doing it, thunderstorms too.
absolutely, man. Yeah, that's some
Yeah,
good. There's some good points there for sure.
yeah. That's basically, and I got involved with the right people at the right times. I got involved with Algoma tourism
Mm-hmm.
for the area at a good time. They're looking for people like young people like me get into the fishing world.
Yeah.
I caught some fish with guys that just worked out right. Like I contacted some magazine people over the years, and it worked out there. I got a chance to do a TV show, and I got a big muskie in the TV show. And then the guy who wanted to do the magazine shoot just happened to email me back, and he's like, "You know what? Let's do it right now." And then that ended up working out well. And just funny how stuff works. How it's I don't know. You just you keep going at it. It just
Yeah.
eventually comes together. It's like a little bit of hard work, a little bit of luck, and a little bit of networking. What goes a long way.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you got to be on the
Timing,
water, right, to
timing.
make that happen.
Yes, yeah. You got to be on the water, and you got to be on the computer when you're at home, and you got to be on your phone. You got to be always. It's a business. It's networking. It's so much more than just going fishing, as you know.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you a bit of a funny question here, and I'm sure with you being more remote than me that you're going to have a good answer. What is the worst bathroom pit stop you've had to make, either guiding or fun fishing?
Um, there's a couple racing in my mind. Like me or someone with me.
Either or.
Well, one that comes to mind. I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but I had this customer, Kyle, and we were heading back to the boat launch. We were fishing lake trout on a lake, and it was him and his wife. I had it for bass the day before. They never
Mhm.
caught a lake trout. We literally went out the next day for lake trout, and he was like, "They want to catch one." We caught one lake trout, and he was like, "Cool, let's go." So we're heading back in, and I'm just cruising back, like about 30 miles an hour, nothing, just cruising.
Yep.
And I hear his wife. I can't remember her name, but his wife just, "Oh no, Kyle!" And she just like the look on her face. She was just horrified, and I was like, what the hell?" I looked back, and he was slapping me in the back, and he was at the back of my boat doing like 30 miles an hour, man. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, you could tell he was laughing. She was so embarrassed. I don't. And then yeah, just let her rip and
No
went back to
way.
the boat launch. And yeah, he must have had some kind of colitis or something. I don't know. It's had Crohn's. He had something going. He ate something pretty bad, but yeah, he came on quick. I just felt the tap of my shoulder, and I think he was trying to hold on to me actually.
Yeah.
So what he was, yeah, and you know what? I don't know if he's swearing here, but he didn't shoot my boat at all.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the other funny bathroom breaks are the valley on the road down in the States somewhere.
Yep.
Along one of the I-75 somewheres. But that Kyle, yeah, Kyle, I don't know if Kyle listens to this or not, but Kyle, I had to, man. That I'll never forget that story, that day in my life.
Oh man, the joys of guiding, right? Some of those
Ways of
experiences.
guiding, ways of guiding. Oh yeah, I've had people bringing portable toilets in my boat for like accidents. I'm like, holy, I hope there's no accident. Yeah, like please no accident.
If we can avoid the accidents today, that'd be great,
Yeah,
guys.
I didn't even catch the fish bite today. Just no accidents.
Yeah. Man, Tyler, it's been great talking to you. That's all the time that we have
Yeah,
for
buddy.
now. But I hope that I'll have you back some other time. We can talk about some other vein of fishing, either what you do or just the industry stuff like that. It's been great to
Absolutely,
have
man.
you, and thanks for being on the Love of Fishing podcast today.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to being back on the show. Maybe we can talk about the next time we get out fishing or something, and we can talk about our day and a
Yeah.
few other things we didn't touch base on today. But I appreciate it, and good luck to you in the season, man.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
Man, guys, I hope you enjoyed the discussion with Tyler Dunn. He's certainly an interesting guy, and he has a lot of really cool stories from guiding. Guiding up where he is a lot different than for me guiding down here, just based on the terrain and sort of the danger factor. I mean, you always have to respect your water, but when he's talking about going up on Nipigon and making these huge runs, that is adventure. That is pretty cool. So I'll post Tyler's information about his guiding down in the description below if you want to get in contact. I trust that he would be a great person to take you out on the water fishing, whether it's your first time or whether you're an avid angler. Tyler knows what's up there. Now it's time to go to this week's poll. Every week I put up a new poll from Instagram. I just ask random fishing questions, topics of interest. This week I asked, if you could fish for only one species forever or use one technique forever, what would it be? And the results from the poll spoke fairly loudly. 61% of people said that they would rather fish for one species for the rest of their life rather than technique, which received 39% of the vote. For those of you who've joined the Love of Fishing podcast before, you know that we like to do a weekly giveaway to subscribers and those who comment on each week's episode. This week, we've got a fantastic giveaway thanks to Whitewater Coffee Crew. This week, we've got some coffee from them, and we'd like to give them a big thanks for their support of the show. To win this prize, all you have to do is be subscribed to this channel on YouTube and to comment your favorite place to fish on this week's episode. If you're listening on Spotify, thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join this type of contest, head over to YouTube, subscribe, and drop a comment on this week's video. Prizes are eligible for 1 week, so basically until next week's episode, you have a chance to win. If you haven't already and are interested in staying up to date on my guiding adventures, I do operate Hooked on Niagara Guide Service, which you can find on Instagram, hooked_on_Niagara, as well as on Facebook, Hooked on Niagara Guide Service. Guys, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Love of Fishing podcast. Again, I'm your host, Lyle Gator, and it's been a joy to bring you this week's episode. Next week, we'll be back with another great guest for another great show, but in the meantime, get outside and go fishing.